Hello everyone and welcome, and today we're doing a bit of a deck tech on Syr Gwyn, a hero of Ash Vale. For those of you who don't know, this was a Brawl commander, Brawl leader. I don't think they call commanders in Brawl. But yeah, it came out back when Eldraine first came out. Obviously Eldraine's coming back. I've been replaying this commander a little bit. She's one of my favourite Voltron commanders. That's how I built this deck. I don't build it as Night Tribal, I build it as Voltron. And so yeah, it's just basically equip knights is 0. So equipment you control have equip knight 0. So it doesn't reduce the cost of 0, it gives the equipment a new ability which is 0, and you can just basically slam everything onto Syr Gwyn for free. Being a big medieval nerd, I guess, I really like playing with swords and shields and equipment and all that type of stuff. But I don't like paying for it. I don't like casting a spell and then have to cast a bunch of mana again to then do the thing it's meant to do. So the fact that we get equip 0 is spot on. And so yeah, so this is the deck in its entirety. I thought it was a good time to revisit it with Thrones of Eldraine coming out. Thrones of Eldraine already been out when this came out, and Wilds of Eldraine coming out now. So yeah, as you'll have seen in my other videos of my shell decks, I have a pretty standard format of like building decks. So we have, in terms of like, okay, right, the deck and the strategy and what it does. Let's go into that first. So Voltron, for those who don't know, Voltron is, I'm going to play my creature, then I'm going to suit it up with loads and loads of equipment. We have a bunch of equipment, yeah? So Gwyn is 6 mana, yeah, Mardu, red, white and black. So we're going to need a bit of ramp, or not necessarily ramp, but assistance in the mana area to create enough mana to get Syr Gwyn out. Okay, and so we do that because Mardu doesn't have spells like Rampant Growth, Cultivate, all that type of stuff. So we have to use the white for ramp, because red's ramp and black ramp is like ritual based, which is like cast a spell, you get that mana right now, which can be useful, but we need this mana to last and stick around, so if Syr Gwyn dies, we can then get her back. If we've done a dark ritual or a what's the red one that's generates 5 mana? I can't remember. Is it like Seeding Song or something? Or is that damage one? Can't remember. If we do that, we might get her out, but then she dies, but they struggle to get her back out, type of thing. So yeah, so we're using artifacts in order to ramp. Plus, we're going to try and utilize treasures to give us some consistency in terms of having some backup mana available to interact, because this deck can be quite mana expensive or mana intensive. So yeah, in terms of like suiting Gwen up and putting equipment on him, obviously you've all probably heard the phrase 2 for 1, like you spend 2 cards and somebody else spends 1 to remove them. So if you have Syr Gwyn on the battlefield and an equipment on her, and then somebody uses 1 card to disable your 2 cards, it can be quite annoying. Obviously with equipment, the equipment still stays on the battlefield. So we've got to come up with ways to protect Syr Gwyn. This can be done through creatures, it can be done through instant spells, it can be done through equipment. Because Syr Gwyn is our win condition, our engine, she is everything to this deck. Without her, it's not really going to function very well. We need to find ways to protect her. So we're going to go through all of that. We'll go through the artifacts, the mana, the things that are going to help you to cast your spells. We'll do that first. But then we'll go through a bit of the equipment, and then ways to get that equipment through tutoring and tutor effects, stuff like that. And then we'll do other synergies with the creatures and the enchantments and some of the protection and removal with the instants and sorcerers. So, starting off, the ramp package, so to speak. It's basically Soul Ring, Wayfarer's Bubble, Arcane Signet. All pretty standard stuff, all budget friendly. Then we've got all 3 signets, yeah? So we've got the white, the black, the red and the white, and the black and the red, yeah? We've then got all 3 talismans, yeah? Once again, white, black, red and white. I also have a command sphere in here. Now, if you have some faster mana, or some better artifacts to ramp you, or such as mana vaults or mana crypts or anything crazy like that, like you can use that instead of this. But this is pretty budget friendly. I think the whole deck comes in at around about $200, something like that. But yeah, the deck's on Moxfield as well. I'll link it in the description so you guys can check it out. We have an Archaeomancer's map as well. So this is stereotypical white catch-up ramp. So enters the battlefield, you search for 2 basic planes, you reveal them, put them into your hand, and then when a land enters under an opponent's control, if they have more lands, you can then put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Remember, this is put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. It doesn't have to be one of those basic planes. So if you're sat there with a Blood Crypt or a Triome in your hand, you can then put that down as long as they have more lands than you after they've played that land. So yeah, so this is going to try and help us cast Syr Gwyn on curve, if we wanted to cast her on curve, depending on how well our card draws go. But I'll go more into that in a second. So pretty standard, pretty straightforward, all the standard stuff you can expect to see. Right, I'll do the lands as well, just so you can quickly see. Nothing super exciting. So we have Command Tower, Secluded Courtyard, Tournament Grounds, and Plaza of Heroes. Right, Command Tower is staple, everybody knows. Tournament Ground is for knights and equipment spells. Secluded Courtyard, you can choose knights as your creature, because there is like a sub-theme of knights within it. And then you can cast, use mana of any colour to spend this to cast a creature, spell of the chosen type, or activate an ability of that. Okay. Tournament Grounds we have said, and then Plaza of Heroes just has a couple of extra things. So you can pay 3 mana, tap it, target legendary creature, gains hexproof and indestructible till end of turn. So we can use this to keep Syr Gwyn safe. Yeah? So later on in the game, when we don't need to tap out to cast anything because Syr Gwyn's already suited and booted, we can attack, and then you can potentially pay 3, tap this to give her hexproof and indestructible, which is great against targeted removal and board wipes. Protection is important. Same here with Tyrite Sanctum, a little bit more expensive, but for 2 mana and tap it, we can put a god token on her, and also +1/+1 counter. I say god token, it becomes a god. So Syr Gwyn becomes a god. And then you can pay 4 mana, tap it, so obviously you'd have to do it another turn. And you can put an indestructible counter on any target god. So she becomes a god the first time, second time, she then gets an indestructible counter. Another way of protecting her, albeit a bit slow. You could replace this for anything you want. Axguard Armoury is our tutor land. So for 4 mana, double red and white, 1 colourless, you can sacrifice this and go for an aura card and or an equipment card. You reveal them, put them into your hand, and shuffle your library. Yeah? Bear in mind you could do this on somebody's end step, then tutor it ready for the start of your next turn. So you can use it to go fetch your protection if you need some protection, or extra damage if you need to get extra damage through. Shizo's Death Storehouse. So it's just a great land. It gives target legendary fear, so it can only be blocked by it can't be blocked except by artifact creatures and black creatures. So yeah, so if nobody's got any black creatures out or nobody's got any artifact creatures out, you can start swinging and getting through because you've got fear. Because Syr Gwyn has menace, if they've only got 1 black creature or 1 artifact creature, then that's another way of getting through. Other lands we've got utility slot wise are Castle Otway and Castle Ambreth. This is just late game mana sink. If you've got loads of mana open, you can pump Syr Gwyn. We are never going to end up with a full grip of cards, not unless somebody wheels or something like that. Very much in this deck, we are spending pretty much all of our stuff to get out, and then Syr Gwyn will slowly gain us cards as we attack him with her every turn. But there is no major card draw functionality within this deck because it's not what it really is about. I mean, it could benefit from having a bit more card draw in it, don't get me wrong. It's one of the reasons why you'll see in a minute I've got the cycle lands and the command sphere in here, so you can sack it, draw a card. With that in mind, you guys might find it better if you play things like Hedron's Archive and stuff like that, things that you can tap for 2 mana when you need it, and then also you can sack it and draw a couple of cards. But yeah, Castle Otway works fine for that, because if you've got no cards in hand, you can then draw a card and you only use 1 life. So it's 1 card, 1 life, same count as Syr Gwyn, 1 card, 1 life. We've got the Triomes, the tapped one, and the Savai. Then here we are, we've got the cycling lands. So if you draw these later in the game, you can cycle this away. We then have the 3 pain lands, we've got the 3 temple lands, we've got the 3 pathways. I only have 1 of the shock lands. I'm not buying any shock lands at the moment. As you guys will be aware if you've been following the news, I say the news, the MTG news, shock lands are going to get reprinted starting of 2024. So if you're going to want to buy shock lands, wait till start 2024. The prices will come down once the reprint comes in. or if you're naturally cracking packs, you might get them. Then we've got 3 mountains, about 5 plains, and 4 swamps. Yeah. Obviously, if you get all the shocks and things like that, you could upgrade and get fetches and things like that if that's the way you want to play. But this is kind of like a middling power deck. Like, it's not crazy. So yeah, so that's all the stuff we're going to use to cast our spells, get Syr Gwyn out on time, and do the things that we need to do. So now, equipment. Let's go off over what makes Syr Gwyn good in this deck, and it's the equipment. So, I mean, Syr Gwyn has Vigilance and Menace, so she doesn't tap when you attack, and Menace is kind of like a little bit of evasion if they have a small board, but it also forces them to put 2 things under it. And Syr Gwyn, as you can see, will get quite chunky, so they will probably lose 2 creatures. Right, so first off, Colossus Hammer. Absolute beautiful equipment, 8 to equip, not with Syr Gwyn, slap it on for free. 1 mana, 10 damage. This is great, like late game, if you want to like tutor it up and you just need that extra damage to get through. Awesome stuff. Yeah, we've then got Shadow Spear. Equipped a creature gets +1/+1, travel and lifelink, and then you can also remove Hexproof and Indestructible from your opponent's permanents your opponent's control. So not your stuff. So if Syr Gwyn's got Hexproof and Indestructible and you activate this, she's still good. She's all good. Permanents your opponent's control lose Hexproof and Indestructible till end of turn. So you can pay 1 mana, tap that, and then you can use some of the removal spells we've got coming up to get rid of their indestructible things, such as that goddamn One Ring. Bane of my life at the minute, that card. Every time I've come across the One Ring, the person playing the One Ring has won the game. So anyway, Sword of the Animist. Whenever an equipped creature attacks, you search your card for a basic land. This just helps us make sure we get all of our mana. We don't want to be stuck on just 2 colours. We need all 3 colours for this deck to function properly, such as a 3-colour deck. Dowsing Dagger, once again, that's also a bit of mana ramp in terms of, yes, it gives your opponents 0/2s, but Syr Gwyn has Menace, so you can just attack that player straight away. If they throw both the 0/2s underneath it, yes, you don't have trample by default, but still, you get rid of those creatures. Or it could be that you negotiate and say, I'll tell you what, if you let Syr Gwyn hit you so I can flip it, you can get the 0/2 defenders, you know, to protect them from other things. Or you can just give it to the person that you know you're not going to be attacking, or it maybe it's falling behind or something like that to help them get back in the game, so you've got time to take out the other guys, get a bit of a partnership going with that player to enable you to win the game. So yeah, anyway, cards to get ramp, to get more mana, to keep us in the game. Right, and I mentioned before as well about protecting Syr Gwyn. So this is where Swiftfoot Boots and Lightning Greaves come in. They also give her haste. There is no better feeling than casting Syr Gwyn on turn 6 and already having a bunch of equipment out and be able to give her haste and swing straight away. Yeah, so good, so good. So we've got the Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots. Obviously, remember with Lightning Greaves, it's Shroud, so it can't be the target of any spells or abilities. Yeah? So if you put Lightning Greaves on her first and then you go to equip your hero's heirloom, Shroud stops you. Yeah? So make sure you equip all of your stuff before you equip your Lightning Greaves. Swiftfoot Boots, however, is hexproof, so it only stops your opponents from targeting. Okay? Just remember those little niche interactions. Another haste enabler. Equipped creature has trample and haste, so this helps Syr Gwyn get that damage through. Giving her trample, giving her haste, all great stuff. More protection in terms of Conqueror's Veil. People can't interact with you on your turn. So, and it gets +1/+1 for each colour among permanents you control. You own a red, a white and a black permanent straight away that this is going to be equipped to. So it's going to get +3/+3. Life is gravy. Here we go. Bit of damage here. So equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each land you control. Obviously, if you're attacking on turn 6, you essentially might have 6 mana available. If you're using artifacts, you might have, say, 5 lands available. This is essentially giving you +5/+5 on turn 6, or maybe +4/+4, depending on what you've drawn into. But either way, can be quite strong. A good push to get that last bit of damage through. Another haste and trample enabler here in the Sword of the Vengeance. Gives first strike as well, if that matters, if your opponent's getting a lot of creatures. The only sword I have in the deck, Sword of Forge and Frontier, I was lucky enough to pull this in a pre-release. I like this one in this deck because it gives us the impulsive card draw. So if we're not tapping out our mana on main phase 1, which we don't tend to do on this unless we're playing equipment to put onto Syr Gwyn. We can hit in, we can reveal those cards, and then we can cast them. We can also play an extra land. Great, all the things that we want to be doing. More protection, Darksteel Plate gives it indestructible. It also has indestructible itself. Loxodon Warhammer. As Syr Gwyn attacks, we lose a lot of life. As we're not super heavy on creatures, we are susceptible to like tokens coming at us. So if we have like 3 or 4 creatures attacking us at a time, we can only block 1 or maybe 2 depending on what creatures we've got out. So we will be taking little bits of chip damage. So Loxodon Warhammer allows us to get us that lifelink. It also gives Syr Gwyn Trample. More of the Skyclaves is another great one. Gives flying and first strike. Gives it again that bit more evasion if you need it to get through those board states that you can't get through. Two-handed axe, sorcery, instant, sweeping cleave. Creature gains double strike till end of turn. Whenever a cryptic creature deals attacks, double its power. So you can essentially, you've got the 5 mana available. Sweeping cleave goes on an adventure, cast it, equip it for free. Yeah, your creature now has double strike until the end of the turn, and its equipped creature's attack power is doubled until the end of turn. Now, as standard, so if you did that, double her power, she's now 10, she's then got double strike, she's now hitting for 20 on 1 turn with 5 mana available. Obviously not quite commander damage, but chances are you might have another equipment around. Weaver Cleaver, just absolute solid card. Gives it trample, which allows you to get through that damage to generate all those tokens. If you're swimming for 10 damage, 7, 8 damage, you're getting 4 or 5 through, you know, that's great. That's 4 or 5 treasures, a lot more mana, because then if they remove it, you've got those treasures for the following turn to recast your commander plus your command attacks. Sunforger, this is just great for being able to equip, unattach it, go fetch a removal spell, so you can move to combat. People think they've got enough blockers, and if they don't react to you going to combat before damage, before blockers, sorry, while still in combat, you can unequip. Then you can go fetch yourself a removal spell, destroy one of their blockers, so they can no longer block because they've got menace. Yeah. And then once we do that, yeah, you can just help Syr Gwyn get through. Also, it's a way of, if you've got this on, you can go 2 to 4 your protection spells, so she can get hexproof, indestructible, things like that. Brass Knuckles, great spell because this on its own, cast it for 4 mana, it creates a copy of itself, comes in, creates a copy of itself, equip both copies. Equipped creature has double strike as long as you have 2 or more equipment are attached to it. You've got the copy, you've got this one, instant double strike, 10 damage. Awesome stuff. Augmentum Armor, this is also removal, so it gives Syr Gwyn plus 6/6. And equipped creature attacks, destroy target permanent. So remember that's on attack trigger. So you go to attacks, you have your Syr Gwyn trigger. If you've got Augmentum Armor, you've got this trigger. Yeah, so you lose a life, draw a card from Syr Gwyn, and then you can blow something up. Okay? This is also why it's good if you've got the, what's it called? Shadow Spear on as well. So you pay 1 mana and give everything, take off hexproof and indestructible, and then something like this you can then target. Boom. Embercleave, because why wouldn't you have Embercleave? Yeah, enters the battlefield, attach it straight to a creature you control, can't speak. It's 1 less for each creature attacking. Normally you're just attacking with Syr Gwyn, so it's only going to cost you 5 instead of 6. The +1/+1 is hardly relevant, but the fact it's got double strike and tremble, allowing you to get that damage through if they've got blockers. Yeah, and also double strike, doubling up that damage. Cauldron Complete, just an absolute beast of an equipment. Yeah, it's a living weapon. The +5/+5 is amazing, and then it just basically has all keywords. First strike, trample, indestructible, haste, and whenever this deals combat damage to a creature, exile that creature. It also has indestructible itself, so it's pretty hard to remove unless they've got exile. So yeah, so as you can see, some pretty nasty stuff, and you just get 2 or 3 of these onto Syr Gwyn, and you're normally looking in a pretty healthy space as long as you can keep protecting her. Right, so protection. Let's do a little bit of the protection. So, shall we go? Oh no, I said I'd do creatures first, didn't I? So we'll do creatures. Do the creatures. Mother of Runes. Target creature you control gains protection from the colour of your choice to end of turn. Obviously, summoning sick, you can't activate it. But however, if you've got Lightning Greaves, yeah, you can play this, put the Lightning Greaves on, give a haste, so you can then do this. Multiple reasons why you want Mother of Runes in the deck. Say your opponent's playing all black creatures, so your Shizo Death Storehouse card, giving it fear won't allow it to get through. you've not got your model Skyclaves, you've not got flying, they've got loads of big things, loads of big demons or whatever that's all blocking you. Yeah, you can now tap this, give Syr Gwyn protection from black, so they can no longer block, and smash face. Yeah, also it could be used defensively, so if somebody goes to try and target Syr Gwyn, we can tap this, give a protection from the spell that's targeting Syr Gwyn. Okay, awesome stuff. Great card, great utility, can be used in loads of decks, especially when you need to protect commanders or very specific cards. Card draw, we've got Saram and Pure Steel Paladin. So whenever equipment enters the battlefield, you draw a card. This is whenever you cast. So a slight difference there. So you cast, you get this trigger. Yeah, you go to cast Cauldron Complete, let's say. Somebody counters it, you don't get the trigger. Okay, awesome stuff. White Catch-Up Ramp, Midnight of the White Orchid. Enters the battlefield. If somebody controls more lands than you, you can go get the planes. Yeah, goes on the battlefield. And this is one, put it onto the battlefield. Doesn't go onto the battlefield tapped, it just goes onto the battlefield. Okay, Stormfist Crusader. Everyone loses a life at the beginning of each upkeep, and you draw a card. Yeah, as Menace, it's a knight, so you can also equip stuff for free. You can still equip stuff for free on this card as well. It also has first strike, so it's quite good. Same with Pure Steel Paladin as a knight. So all free equips onto these when Syr Gwyn's out. Same with Danitha. Danitha's again in here later because she's just an absolute beauty. So makes equipments cost less. First strike, vigilance, lifelink. She has a knight, so we can equip things easily to her. Acclaimed Contender. Knight, once again, free equip. But this only triggers, you've got to remember, this triggers if you control another knight. When acclaimed enters the battlefield, if you control another knight, look at the top 5 cards, reveal a knight or equipment, or even a legendary artifact card from among them, put it into your hand, rest at the bottom in a random order. So this is a way of us helping us find more equipment. You'll notice with all these creatures, we've got the protection, the catch-up ramp, like 3 for the card draw, cast equipment spell layer, cast equipment spells cheaper, and then the rest of this is all pretty much protection and tutoring for equipment. So 3 mana tutor for an equipment, we've got 3 mana destroy, also knight has lifelink, keeps going back, put it on the bottom of your library, amazing stuff. Guardian of Faith just gives everything, phases everything out so you can protect it. I had a game the other day where someone tried to steal my Syr Gwyn, so I phased it out. Great stuff. Armored Skyhunter, whenever it attacks, top 6 cards or equipment from among them onto the battlefield. Onto the battlefield. You get this out, get Swiftfoot Boots on it, smash face, get a trigger straight away, equipment straight away. That's amazing stuff. As long as there's one in the top 6. You've seen how many equipment I've got here. We're pretty good. Aster, Bearer of the Blades. Equipment you control have equip 1. So if Syr Gwyn has died a bunch of times or not quite out yet, then this obviously helps you equip your little creatures. When it enters the battlefield, top 7, reveal an equipment card or a vehicle card from among them, put it into your hand, the rest on the bottom of your library. So yeah, we're getting equipment. Danitha, when it enters the battlefield, you may put an aura equipment card from your hand or graveyard onto the battlefield attached to Danitha. Remember the graveyard bit. So many times that people will destroy your Swiftfoot Boots or your Colossus Hammer, things like that, and you play this, and then you just go, I'll have that straight back out my graveyard, thank you very much. Stonehewer Giant. This is just a tutor on a stick, so for 1 and a white we can tap it. We can search our library for an equipment card, put it onto the battlefield attached, and attach it to a creature you control. Shuffle your library. Awesome stuff. So obviously it's got something to stick for the first turn, so you can tap it and activate it on the second turn that it's in play, and then get something straight onto Syr Gwyn, or you could use it potentially in response to somebody. So if somebody tries to target Syr Gwyn, tap this, go get yourself your Swiftfoot Boots, put it onto Syr Gwyn so she's no longer targetable, or go get yourself your Darksteel armour so it gives it indestructible, or your Cauldron Complete, like anything like that. So creatures done, sorted. Yeah, so a little bit of night synergy within the creatures, a couple of ways to draw cards, protect, and also more specifically get the cards that we want. So in this deck we're doing less about, oh, let's just draw. It's more, okay, we know what we want, we've got different equipment for different situations, let's just get that equipment that we need at that time. Okay, so that's kind of like how you're going to be playing this. So let's do sorceries first. More ways in order to get your equipment. We've got Open the Armoury and Steel Shaper's Gift. Basically 2 sorceries, go get the equipment that you need in that specific moment. Okay, awesome stuff. Relentless Assault, absolutely fantastic card here. Untap all creatures that attack this turn. After this main phase, there is an additional combat phase, followed by an additional main phase. This is great if you've got like the Reaver Cleaver out, you've got loads of treasures to spend, so you can attack one person. If it's not enough quite to kill them, you can untap and then kill them and finish them off. I would definitely recommend with this deck and Voltron decks in general, beating one person down, get them out of the game, and then beat the other person down, and then the other person down. Okay, don't try and spread your damage out unless you've got a very specific type of Voltron deck that wants to do that. But for the most part, especially in this deck, just get one person out, get the next person out, and try and target the person that's going to be the biggest threat, like the person that might combo off. So they'll have less as a board state and they're trying to combo. Yeah, get them out of the game, because the last thing you want to do is spend 8 turns sharing the love and then that person just combos off and you can't interact with it. Okay, so Relentless Assault is great if somebody thinks it's not quite lethal. Smash phase, second main phase, you can then untap all creatures that attack this turn. After this main phase, there's an additional combat phase or an additional main phase. As I just said, absolutely fantastic. Love that card. It's won me quite a few games. Ruinous Automatum, destroy non-land permanent your opponent's control. This is also one of the reasons why we need a lot of the ramp package, the treasures, the catch-up ramp, Archaeomancers, Knight of the White Orchid. Knight of the White Orchid? Is that what it's called? Something like that. All the talismans. Yeah, destroy all non-land permanents your opponent's control. Absolutely fantastic. All stuff your opponent's control, none of your stuff, your board stays intact. Beautiful. Vanquish the Horde. Oh, this is so good. 1 less to cast for each creature on the battlefield, destroy all creatures. You play this on, like, you're casting Gwyn on turn 6. You play this turn 5, wipe the board, turn 6, you've got a Haste Enabler on Gwen. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. Guaranteed commander damage straight through. Yeah? Fantastic. Done that a few times. People hate it. I love it. So, that's the sorcerers. Right, now we've got protection removal. So, this is great. We've got plenty of ways to get that equipment. We've got plenty of ways to deal combat damage, protect our commander and stuff like that with these. Now we need to get this commander through, dealing that damage and making sure it connects. So, first off, we've got two bits of protection. Target permanent gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. If it's an artifact creature, it gets +2/+2. It's not. Target creature you control gets +2/+2, hexproof until end of turn. Yeah? Just stops targeted removal, stops destroy all things, board wipes, stuff like that. Absolute great spells. You know, you've got the Sunforger in here. You can go fetch these with a Sunforger. Perfect. Next up, Boros Charm. Great card. Permanents you control gain indestructible till end of turn. Once again, you can fetch this with Boros, the Sunforger. Boros Charm does 4 damage to target player or planeswalker. If there's a pesky planeswalker you can't get through to, you can get rid of that. Planeswalker removal is kind of important at the minute. I'm seeing a lot of Commander Guth decks around there. Planeswalker Super Friends decks are becoming a little bit more popular. They're getting a little bit more support. So this targeted Planeswalker removal is getting a lot better. Target creature gains double strike till end of turn. Fantastic. Attack. It's not quite lethal. Oops. Yes, it is. Yeah. Fantastic Boros Charm. Run it in all your Boros coloured Voltron decks. Beautiful. Cut down. Every time I talk about removal and I'm talking about black, I will always mention this card. Absolutely fantastic. Destroy a target creature with power and toughness 5 or less. It just hits so much stuff. In fact, let's just flip through. Kills this, kills this, kills this, kills this, kills this, kills this. Doesn't kill contender. Kills Murderous Rider. Kills Guardian of Faith. Doesn't kill this one, doesn't kill this one. Yeah, kills half my creatures in my own deck. Yeah, it just hits so much stuff. So much stuff. Esper Sentinels. You know, Dark Side Extortionate so people can't keep blinking. Like, just hits so much stuff that's of value. Dragon Rage Channeler so people can't get stuff back from graveyards. Like, it's amazing. 1 black mana. Yes, it's limited. It's not going to get rid of that massive 7/7 demon or angel that's on the other side of the board. But for those little tricky spells that grind out and get a lot of value for people, gets rid of them all. Perfect. Boom. For the bigger things, you just terminate them. Destroy target creature, it can't be regenerated. Awesome stuff. Yeah? If it's got indestructible or some crazy shenanigans like that, exile it. Might convert it from Cast 4 greater. Despark for the big stuff. Great stuff. Once again, target artifact, creature or planeswalker. This just gives us more variety. If there's a 1 ring on the table. Make it no, take away its indestructible with your Shadow Spear, then destroy the target artifact. Planeswalker, once I just said, Planeswalkers are becoming more problematic, they're getting more support. Yeah, they slow down games, they grind out value. Very boring to play against in my opinion. So yeah, get rid of that. Also, get rid of a creature as well, so if they've got 2 blockers, then it can no longer block. Target permanents, yeah, shuffles it into his library, so get rid of those annoying permanents. Yeah, it's a bit of a random chance. You can also cast it on your own thing if you've got a permanent in play that's not doing anything and you're in a bit of an emergency situation. See what I can find. Boom, awesome. Mortify, creature or enchantment. Let's get rid of those boys. Utter End, not a spell you normally see because of the mana cost. Exile target non-land permanent. It's an exile effect, which is great, so it gets ran indestructible, but also because it's white, we can use Sunforger to come and get this. Sunforger gets white and red cards. Wear and Tear, absolutely beautiful card. Destroy artifacts, destroy target enchantment. Yeah, amazing stuff. All good removal. You will notice that I am missing Swords to Plowshare and Path to Exile. If I had a spare copy of them, I would have them in this deck, just because they target creatures, and I need to get rid of the creatures so Syr Gwyn can get through. Plus, they're we can cast them with Sunforger as well. So if somebody plays like some crazy big threat that's about to go off with some Displacer Kitten combo or something crazy like that, bang bang, all sorted, easy peasy. Okay, next up we've just got 2 little simple enchantments. Yeah, so Garda's Age, you may cast aura and equipment spells other than Flash. Whenever equipment enters the battlefield under your control, attach it to target creature you control. Yeah, so during combat, flash things in, stick them on. Yeah, great stuff. Doesn't let you move things around at instant speed, but you can cast the equipment at instant speed and equip them once they enter the battlefield. Other than that, we have the Forging of the Tyrite Sword. Yeah, create a treasure token, we do that twice. We need the ramp, we need the extra mana. And then also go to for that specific equipment. Obviously we don't want Halvar the God because he's not in here. We just want the equipment. We want those specific equipment cards that are going to enable us to do what we want to do when we need to do it. Yeah? Awesome stuff. The only problem I'm having with this deck, like I love it, don't get me wrong, but it's not perfect. It could be fine-tuned and tweaked a lot more, especially in the mana base, like we could have the vaults, the crypts, you know, all that type of stuff, the free mana spells. We could have fetch lands to make sure that we are getting all of our mana as of when we need it. So yeah, so it could be tweaked a lot better in this department. In terms of equipment, yes, I could get all the swords, Feast and Famine, Fire and Ice, all that type of stuff. The only reason I have the Forge of Frontier one is, like I said, because I managed to pull it in the pre-release. I am tempted to actually just sell it and get a cheaper card in that place. But yeah, I think that's probably one of the more valuable cards in the deck. So yeah, it's just, you don't need to have all crazy swords. Like, yes, you can get protection from a lot of colours by playing those, and some of them are good. But it's just, I sometimes find when you say I'm going to play Sword of, then people are like, what? You know, like, and they will start to try and target you because they think you're playing crazy overpowered expensive cards. So that's one of those cards that I would probably remove, so I instantly become less of a target, because it won't be played, whereas if you play it, it becomes more of a target. So Gwyn herself in her playstyle, like, you've got to be careful with her. If you go like hell for leather, you get 3 or 4 pieces of equipment in your first 2 or 3 turns, and then turn 6 you play it and you stack her up with 3 or 4 pieces of equipment, and people just look at your board and go, crap, she's hitting for 12 next turn. That's a 2-turn clock. Yeah, I can't block it. People are going to start talking and they're going to try and blow it up. Because they'll be like, right, you guys might combo off, or you guys are gaining slow incremental value, but this guy is literally going to kill me in 2 turns. So just be aware of that. If you jump everything out of your hand onto the battlefield, you will have no cards in hand. Syr Gwyn draws 1 card when she attacks. Yeah. Obviously, if you get a couple of creatures out and you share the equipment across them, you'll be losing more life, but you'll be drawing more cards. So that's something to consider in terms of if you're needing that card draw. Obviously, we've got the cycle lands to just ditch them away and get a card. We have our SRAM and our Pure Star Paladin as well for when we cast our equipment to draw cards, which is quite good. We could run, I guess, the Imperial Recruiter, is it? It allows you to go fetch a creature with power. Is it power 2 or less or 1 or less? If it's 2 or less, then obviously you can get Pure Star Paladin and SRAM. And if it's 1 or less, then it's no good. I guess you could play other things in terms of, like, you could go down the road of playing a Smothering Tide if you wanted to, but I don't feel like it's on theme with this deck. You could play an Esper Centaur, but once again, I don't feel like it's on theme. Yeah, there's probably lots of little nuances and tweaks you could do to really up the power level of this. But yeah, for me, it's more of a like mid-range power deck. If I've had a long day at work and I've just got to the game club and I'm just like, right, let's just play a simple game to start with while I get sorted, you know. Like, I can grab this, stick it on the table while I can be sorting my bag out, playing it dead simple. 1 tap, boom, go. 1 tap, boom, go. You know, there's not a lot of complex lines. It's pretty much just a, do I need to tutor for a piece of equipment because I'm becoming more of a threat that protects me? Or am I well protected and I just need to get something that's allowing me to get that damage through by getting trampled? Do I need to get something that's going to get me ramped so I get back in the game because I know Syr Gwyn's going to get destroyed? And it's finding those moments of going, right, I could get Swiftfoot Boots and put it on Syr Gwyn, but that's just going to make it more of a target, and then my boots will die and Syr Gwyn will die. So at that point, do I just try and find, like, Sword of the Animus so I can go get lands every turn? Do I get the Dousing Dagger so I can, like, hit somebody and flip it and get 3 mana the next turn? You know, which pays for the command attack should Syr Gwyn die. It's those little nuances and moments, and when you tutor for cards like that, people are like, okay, it's not actually getting anything crazy powerful. If you had something crazy powerful, why you fetch it? Yeah, so what you do is that's how you play it, and then when you get to a point when you're 8, 9, 10 turns into the game and you've got one of your big tutors down on the board, because we've got lots of ways of tutoring, you can then tap this and then go, right, now I'm going to get my cauldron complete. Now I'm set up and protected, people have spent a few resources dealing with each other and everybody's kind of like balanced out. Then I'll go get my big scary thing and try and push for the win. Try and close the game out. So yeah, so just bear that in mind. Obviously the other thing to mention is Sunforger. Where is Sunforger? There is entire decks built around this card because you can just tutor for Sunforger and then have loads of instants and sorceries, instants, red and whites in your deck that cost 4 or less to enable you to do more. So it's just one of those things that you could go more down this route if you wanted to, but you would probably want to run more tutors and things to specifically get this card out as quick as you can onto your commander to enable that. But yeah, this is more of a bit of an all-rounder Voltron. So yeah, I love this deck. Great, simple, easy to do. Yeah, no complex lines. Just, it's not even turned sideways because she's got vigilance. It's just equip her and smash. Equip and smash. Yeah, try and get a few card draw engines down if you can. Keep your mana up. Just smash face. Like I said, try and take one person out before you take somebody else out. Obviously, sometimes the person that maybe is the threat on turn 6 or 7 when you start attacking, you might be like, okay, I need to get them out of the game. And then everybody else also deals with them. And then somebody else becomes the threat. You then have the choice of like, right, okay, I'm no longer going to attack you. You've been dealt with. Like, I can see you need to rebuild and get back in the game. So in the spirit of having a more fun game, I'm going to turn my attention elsewhere and can negotiate in terms of politics for them to leave you alone a bit so you can start dealing with the other threats on the other side of the board, on the other side of the table. So yeah, lots of potential negotiations and politicking when you have like a 10-10 trample, first strike, vigilance, menace, flying woman on a horse. People don't want to get smacked for commander damage. People will, when I've been playing this, people will often be like, if I let you draw a card, we won't attack me next turn. It's like, yeah, sure. But you can also be the guy that's like, no, like, I'm going to attack whoever I think is the most threatening. Like, one card draw is not going to protect you. You know, if you're going to give me a card draw and not interact with my board state, then I won't attack you, you know. Don't be scared of like pushing the ante, because if they come to you saying they don't want to be hit, it's probably because they're trying to do something and they don't want to be hit by it because they don't want to die. Or they're scared of the damage because it's coming to beast, so they can't deal with her. So don't be scared to try and call their bluff on them. Like, And if your Syr Gwyn dies, your Syr Gwyn dies. You know, we've got the resources available to get it back out. So yeah, enjoy. Hope your games go well. I'm going to shuffle this back up and try and jam a couple of games on Spell Table now and see how I get on. So yeah, take it steady, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.